Shared housing. What is it and how can it benefit you? We know that shared housing is common in every city and community in our country. Of all housemate renters, 76% of people live with roommates or with family members. So of all the renters in the country, shared housing is the most common housing type. With the housing choice voucher, shared housing happens when two or more unrelated tenants have their own room and share common living spaces. Each tenant holds their own lease with the landlord, and each housemate can stay or leave shared housing at any time.
There is a need for shared housing with housing choice vouchers. The reasons why are because, as everyone is well aware, in Salt Lake City, it can take a client over 2 months to find housing. Since vouchers are only open for 120 days, oftentimes the vouchers will expire before they can find housing. Shared housing opens options to units of diverse sizes and neighborhoods for clients receiving HCV vouchers. Since rents in Salt Lake continue to increase, this can also help with those barriers. With shared housing, you have choices. You can choose your own housemate, and your options can increase with housing when you're looking at 2 and 3 bedroom homes. Shared housing can also be a temporary bridge to long-term goals. You're only in shared housing during the life of the lease. You are not required to stay in shared housing. Shared housing can also be a way to get you into neighborhoods or communities that you would like to move to that otherwise you would be unable to afford.
So you have in your folder a shared housing packet, and in that packet is a guide of resources that will help you identify housemates, help you have a tool for setting house rules, and also some guidelines on conflict resolution, which is something we all face when we're in our own home with our other housemate members. So in the client packet, there's FAQs that answer some of the most common questions about shared housing. There's a nice one pager there. And there's also guidance on how to find a housemate. So the first thing you want to do is start to ask friends or family if they know of anyone who's looking for housing. You also can use social media to reach out. There are common ads in Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace. Also, there's a website called HotPads. It's very, very good to look at the hotpads.com website to even see what some of the market prices are that you're talking about in the neighborhoods you're looking for. And you could start thinking about also in the college areas, there's always some kind of website for off-campus housing if you're open to living with college-age youth. And you could also think about reaching out to faith communities you are familiar with and ask if any members there have a room to rent. There's a home share model website called Silver Nest that's also there to look for if you're looking for renting a room in somebody else's home where they're living in. The other sites are for looking for houses, landlords and houses that are completely being rented out to new housemates. So we want to make sure you also learn and understand how to avoid a rental scam that you might find on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace. So you always want to verify the owner. You want to look up or drive by the property itself. You want to really be aware of fake listings. If an apartment seems like it's too good to be true, it likely is. And you never, ever, ever want to submit the rent application before you actually see the property itself. You don't want to give it personal information over email. You want to meet with that landlord over the phone, and you never, ever want to wire any money. There are scammers out there everywhere, and you want to make sure that the ad that you're looking at is actually property that the owner's for real, and they're not trying to collect your rent in a strange way. So in the packet, there's also a really wonderful tool on how to screen for a new housemate. So there's some questions that are guiding you on what you might first ask when assessing a housemate match, which are just logical of what neighborhoods you're looking to live with, and what about paying utilities, what's the highest rent level you're wanting to pay. And then there's these questions that are in there listed that are really helpful for discussing what are your deal breakers? What is it that's most important to you as a concern on living with a new housemate? So these questions are ones to ask in any order, and really talk through with the potential housemate or housemates on how you might accommodate each other with these questions. So it's both to understand and getting to know a new housemate, and also how you might accommodate each other so you can discern whether this is the right housemate match or not. And then there's a housemate agreement. So once you have made a decision and you want to move forward, this is a wonderful contract. It's not legally binding, but it's a contract between housemates that it's allowing you to make visible the kind of deal breakers that you've just been talking about in a very logical flow. So you're going to discuss and list out what you each think about guests and what are the rules you're going to decide as your own foundation for quiet hours, for housekeeping, for chores, how you want to deal with groceries, other general courtesies and deal breakers that you've identified with those very good conversation cards. And then you're going to have that, and ideally you're going to meet monthly to update that as a living document. And then their packet are also some conflict resolution tips. One of the things we know about is every situation changes over time, and conflict happens for all of us in all houses. So the conflict resolution tips are good ones to review between yourself and also housemates, so you can each begin to start to understand better ways to listen, which is something we're all working on. You also can understand some conflict de-escalation ideas, which are very logical when we're getting upset about something in the housing situation. Very, very good to take a walk, a good long walk, at least 15 minutes to walk before we start to address the issue. Deep breathing is something that's done. There's a very really famous Navy SEAL breath guidance that's in the packet. And also to really try to understand what's triggering your own anger. And these are good tools and tips for all of us living in households. And we know that our goal here in supporting your identification of a housemate is that you want to have housing stability. It doesn't mean you have a best friend, but we want you to have the tools for both choosing a housemate and keeping a housemate for long-term housing stability, as long as you choose to stay in shared housing.
So as an overview, households with a voucher can either find a multi-bedroom unit within the payment standards and then find a housemate, or they can find a housemate first and then look for an appropriate sized unit. Just a reminder that only the household that has the voucher will receive the housing assistance. Housemates that don't have a voucher will be responsible to pay their part of the full rent. We have some examples. There are many ways to utilize shared housing. There can be unrelated housemates that have vouchers, or one household has a voucher and the other one pays the full rent, or all the household members may have some type of housing assistance. Now, there are different payment standards for different bedroom sizes. As examples, we have the 2 and 3 bedroom payment standards listed. 2 bedrooms are $1,324 as the max if all the utilities are included. 3 bedrooms are $1,534, the max if all utilities are included. Utility allowances are subtracted from the standard if you have to pay any part of the utilities. And then in shared housing, utilities will be split by the housemates. And just a reminder is what some benefits are to shared housing. It can increase your options. It can assist with costs in housing. It can open up your ability to be in different communities and have different connections. You would have more options on where to go across the county. It can help with stabilizing your housing as making it more affordable. And it still gives you the ability to choose where you live and who your housemate will be.
Thank you. And we hope that you've learned something about how shared housing can be beneficial if you choose to explore what it is and how it can benefit you.